Narcissists may engage in feminist activism to satisfy their grandiose tendencies, studies suggest. Well, no shit. Later on in the news, we find the sky is blue. So, as usual, these people are looking at something we already know. For them to even consider doing a study like this means they must have suspected it from the beginning, right? A recent study has found that individuals with higher levels of narcissistic traits are more likely to be involved in feminist activism. Of course, because it's a hate movement. It's completely unnecessary. And so anyone who involves themselves in it is actually going to do it because of grandiose tendencies. Of course, these people who make these two people who made the study will speak out of both sides of their mouths. They will point out what this is actually about and then try and deny it, right? This research suggests that some activism may serve not as a platform for societal change, but also as a means to fulfill personal egocentric needs. You're wrong. Both of you are wrong. It does both of them. You have to admit what the what is it? The societal change is about. Now this is my man, Shield for Men, from the Pro Male Collective. What's his latest video? Norway throws boys under the bus, both male circumcision, done by a female feminist. That is the societal change they are looking for, and they succeed at it, right? Okay. Now, this study was inspired by the idea that while many engage in activism for altruistic reasons, not for feminism, it's a hate movement, or due to direct personal impact by the issues at hand. Again, that's not true for feminists because women are not oppressed in any way. Others might be involved by less noble desires. If it's feminism, it's always less than noble. Matter of fact, it's the opposite of noble. Okay. This notion aligns with the concept that activism can be used as a vehicle for individuals to achieve personal gains such as attention, status, or fame. Exactly. Here's a case of a bunch of feminists hating on men. The rapist is you. And of course, what are they doing here? This is them gaining attention, but also attacking men. This is what it is about. We've done results of a previous study in which it investigated the relationship between dark personality traits, that is narcissism, and anti-sexual assault activism. We were interested in further explore the notion that some individuals may be involved in certain forms of activism, that is feminism, to merely satisfy their ego-focused needs. Some individual, it's a hate movement. You liars. It's not going to be some individual. It's going to be all individuals. It's going to be all individuals. Every woman involved in this hate movement is doing just that. It's to hate on men, right? Now, the pathological narcissism inventory was used to measure blah, blah, blah. In grandiose traits and vulnerable traits, they're merely describing it. I'm going to show you where they speak out of both sides of their mouths, okay? This is additionally, the study assessed altruism in the self-report altruism scale, right? Together with these measures provided to provide a comprehensive view of each of the participants' psychological profile and their engagement in activism. This is important. This is where they're trying to say that feminism is good. This is an interview by my other colleague, Mr. Pink and Yellow, where he interviews a feminist, and she cannot name one particular case where women are oppressed. So there are no altruistic people involved in feminism. None. None. Right? The researchers found a significant relationship between the higher levels of narcissistic grandiosity and greater involvement in feminism activism. Of course, because think of the KKK. Are there going to be any altruistic people in the KKK? No. So there's not going to be any in feminists, right? Furthermore, the study revealed that the narcissistic trait of exploitiveness, characterized by I'm screwing that word up, interpersonal orientation and inclination to dominate others, was particularly influential in this regard. Right. It's to dominate others, but even the domination comes second. It's a means to the end. The purpose of dominating others is to perform hatred against them. That's what this is. The rapist is you. They're talking to every man. And this is not an oppressed group. You know, an actual oppressed group doesn't get to go on the streets and call their attackers a bunch of hate mongers like this, and then go home and drink their lattes. Right? These women, if they were oppressed, the police would be coming in and clubbing them over their heads. Right? They don't. In the present study, higher psychological narcissism was associated with greater involvement in feminist activities. Yes. Oh, by the way, the two people who did it, one's a woman and one's a man. Crispin's and Bertram's. I think that's Ann Crispin's. This makes sense to me because basically it's women who are allowed to actually engage in this kind of research. And that's why Bertram, who's the guy, is allowed to jump on this. I'd love the idea that a group of men were doing this kind of study, but they don't. They always need women's permission. One explanation for this result, there's only one explanation. It's a hate movement, and it's only going to attract awful people. Maybe that the political and social activism, such as feminist activism, is an attractive vehicle for individuals with high narcissistic traits because it provides them with opportunities to gain social status. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Positive self-presentation and displays of moral superiority and domination of others, and engagement in social conflicts and aggression. Right. Exactly. That's exactly what's going on. And by the way, my video talking about how Korea men's rights actually fought against these women, the women immediately folded. And the reason it is because they're narcissists and because their whole purpose is to attack men. Once they come up against any kind of true resistance, they fold. Because they're not there for altruistic means. If these women were there for altruistic means, right, then they would not fold immediately. They would stand their ground. But they fold immediately because they're a hate movement. Now, let's see. Okay, this is where they try to say feminism was good, right? And it's only a few bad apples that make it bad. An important practical implication of our findings is that the success of feminist activism may be reduced by individuals high in narcissism, as those individuals may be more likely than individuals of low narcissism to set the tone for feminist activism. Well, you're right, because a hate movement is going to attract such individuals. And again, Shield for Men, I'll put this in the description box so you guys can watch it. This is what happens. This is the activism they're going for, making sure little boys get cut. That's what their activism is about, right? And if these women were for altruistic means, this would never happen. This would never happen. There are no altruistic people working for this. Because this interview, again, by Mr. Pink and Yellow with this feminist who doesn't get named, she's so proud of her feminism, she never gets named, right? That tells you what her motivations are, right? She was exposed as someone who was just gaslighting and wasn't able to speak on any issues for women because they don't exist. So there are no altruistic people involved, right? Therefore, it appears unlikely to us that speakers and influencers high in narcissistic grandiosity are authentically motivated to find the most reasonable solutions in terms of women's rights. Well, considering that women can't come up with any issues that women actually face, it doesn't matter if there are, non-narcissistic people involved in the movement. It's a hate movement. It's a hate movement, right? Oh, yeah. Here's one that's important too. They want men hated on, yet they don't want the hate exposed, right? It's impossible. But additionally, the public perception of such narcissistic behaviors within an activist movement may lead to a dwindling support for the cause by the public and could even be wielded against the respective movement. Well, duh, it's a hate movement, you geniuses. It's a hate movement. What do you think is going to happen? Eventually, people are going to have to admit it. I won't say they're going to get smart because that would suggest people are ignorant. They're not. They can't help it. You can't have a hate movement, one where they attack helpless, innocent infants and think that people aren't going to see it for what it is, right? Now, this is where they get it right. Contrary to what might be expected, the relationship between narcissism and activism was not influenced by gender. That's true, guys. There are all kinds of male feminists that also hate men and want to see them suffer while trying to avoid the suffering themselves. So they're trying, even though they're trying to make it gender neutral, it is gender neutral, right, in this regard. But its purpose is to hate on men, right? So you can see their purpose of mentioning this is not honest to start with. They're trying to take away the hatred that women have away from men. They're trying to say it has nothing to do with being female, which isn't true. Just because they're male feminist doesn't mean that women like men. How many men are in here? How many male feminists do you see? I know it's a blur of faces. I can't see one. Maybe that is one there, maybe. Doubt it though, right? So they can try and deny it, but I'm not letting them get away with that, okay? Okay, so feminism is exposed again. And what's also being exposed is that feminism speaks for women. It comes from women. This is the average woman hating on men. And if you give me that not all, where are the other group of women fighting against them? They're nowhere. They aren't affected by this in a negative way, so they don't care. The average woman who wants to protect her provider wants the right to divorce rape her provider when she feels like it. She wants the right to cut her baby boy. She wants the right to estrange the father from his children and make him pay child support once she's through with him. So trust me, these people are just another brick in the wall, showing, or I should say, exposing this man-hating movement for what it is. Thank you, everyone.